I'm Terry Woods from The Pogues. Listen to the Ireland podcast.
Who are you and how do you know Glen?
I'm Victoria Mary Clarke, and I am the wife of Shane McGowan. And I've known Glen since the 80s, I think, about maybe 1990, because he had the same manager as Shane, and he was signed to the same label. So Frank introduced us to Glen, and we became friends, and for many years. And he lived with my friend Marina Guinness, so he lived in her house. So I saw him a lot, and he was an exceptional friend. You know, I think that a couple of people spoke about that, including the priest, about he had this ability to really see people and to really be interested in them and to really encourage them. And it was a rare thing, very unusual. And I think for a rock star who's like famous, like he also had an ability to make you feel that you were the special one in the situation. So like if he walked into a room, there wouldn't be this barrier around him. It would be like he'd be coming towards you and going, "Hey, it's great to see you. Are you okay?" You know. And I think that everybody who spoke today gave that, you know, brought that out and made that the center of what Glen was about. Because for me, like, he was an amazing singer, powerful singer, like beautiful voice, like, and such a massive range of like raunchy rock, loud, hard, and then gentle as a breeze, soft, beautiful, you know, mournful,
the
soulful.
Pixies in a voice.
Oh. But if you took aside all the music, his life, just as a human, is worthy of canonization, I feel. You know, he's exceptional.
What's your fondest memory of him?
There's too many memories to pick one fondest memory.
What comes to your mind now?
Well, everything. You know, just like after Shane died, and he said to me, "If you don't mind, I could organize the music. Like if you trusted me." And I was like, "Of course I trust you. That's fantastic. That's amazing." And he made Shane's funeral into something that the world celebrated, and he was just there for me the whole time. You know, at the end of the phone, anytime, anywhere, yes, like I'm here. That feeling of him saying yes to everything and always being there, and so generous and so kind. And for Shane's 50th birthday, Glen showed up with a rifle from the GPO, genuine rifle from the GPO. And Shane was just like, what? You know, I mean, like Shane felt about Glen as though he had a brother, and he didn't actually have a brother in real life, but Glen was a brother. You know, he really was.
What did Glen do? Because I know he was a musical director for Shane's funeral, but what did he do that nobody else could have done?
Well, he brought those people together, all of them. He organized them. He decided what they were going to do. He orchestrated it. He choreographed it. He made it run smoothly. He managed all their egos, you know, because a lot of musicians, like, you have to be quite careful, you know. He just made it the most beautiful funeral I've ever seen. And now he's had his own beautiful funeral. And I'm really grateful to all the musicians who showed up here today, because especially Seamus All and Liam Wangley and Colin how do you say that thing? McAnamara. That's it.
Yeah.
That's how you say it. I think they elevated it to the realm of angels. The music. It was like we were in the realm of angels.
This was the biggest funeral of its kind since Shane's.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
What was it like sitting in the congregation for you personally?
Well, I mean, it's a mixture of feelings, because at one level you're aware that Glen is in that realm of angels, and when people like Cullum and Seamus and Liam play their music, you can get lifted into that for a brief few minutes while they're playing it, and you can feel like, wow, it must be amazing for him where he is, because this is a really blissful dimension. But then you kind of drop back down into your own feeling, and like you feel the sorrow. You feel like I cried when Eddie Vedder sang, because his song was more of the earth, and of the body and of the, the sorrow I felt. So I think you're kind of going through all these emotions, but I was proud, especially proud of Myra, because she's like such a beautiful soul, and her poetry is so beautiful, and I feel like their relationship was very, very special. He was absolutely besotted with her. She brought tremendous happiness to him, and that was really great to see. And his brothers, the way they spoke and performed, and I think it did him justice. It is a magnificent funeral, and like whoever goes next is going to have to work hard to top it.
Yeah, long may it be as well.
Long may it be.
Victoria, my condolences to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Lovely to meet you.
At last.
And Shane's dad died yesterday, so we have to have another funeral. Yeah.
We were
I know.
listening to one in the car on the way up.
Oh, I'm glad you got a recording of him, because we're having a funeral on Saturday for him. Yeah.
Come, let's go.
Sorry. My name is Shabzy, and I know Glen from the years he asked me down to the busk Christmas Eve. Having, Bono was saying inside there, people tend to remember the first times that they met Glen, and that was where I first met him. He asked me down, I went up, and he just said, "You've made it, man! You made it!" And I was like, he said it as if like we had known each other for our whole lives or something. And that was the kind of generosity of the man, was that like I was brand new to that situation, but he treated me like.
Had you met him before?
No, that was the first time. So
wow.
So that was like, yeah, that was what he was like. That's how he treated people.
Talk to me about the busk. What is it like there with him?
It's incredible. It's obviously for a cause that shouldn't exist as badly as it does in Ireland. We have one of some of the worst rates of homelessness in Europe. But yeah, so he, to be down there doing that at Christmas time, at a time when people are connecting with friends and family, it's very, very special. And it's going to continue on, and I can only imagine what this year is going to be like even without Glen. Like what he laid down there will not stop. You know what I mean?
Brilliant. Shabzy, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. My condolences.
Thank you.
Who are you and how do you know Glen?
My name is BP Fallon, but nobody's perfect. I met Glen very early on in the frames, and a friend of mine, the manager, Frank Murray, who managed the Pogues, I thought would be a good fit with Glen. So I took Glen up to Stephen's Green and we sat there and we talked about Frank Murray, and Frank Murray then became their manager. It wasn't entirely long term, but it kicked them off. We got the Frames a record contract on ZTT, and then the whole thing went global. Thank God. So, God bless Glenn, God bless Shane, God bless my sister Patricia, my parents, John and Kitty, and everyone. God bless everyone. Bless us who are still alive and bless us who are still in heaven. It's not that I'm a holy Joe, I'm simply very grateful you are here. Amen.
Thank you, BP. Thank you.
More than welcome.
Who are you? And how do you know Glen?
Taxis. I just met him once, that's all.
How did you meet him?
When he was in Apollo House. And I made a photograph of him and he spoke to me. Very, very nice individual. Very, very human, very emphasised with everybody in life, I would say. So, so I come here today to take some photographs of him.
What's your name?
Peter Eriksson.
Peter Eriksson. Peter, thank you for your time.
No problem.
Well, my name's Barra Donovan. I met Glen once, so I didn't really know him that well, but through his songs I think we all got to know him a wee bit. Bono was chatting inside about how Glen had so many best friends. You know, a room filled with people, you know, thousands of people gathered today, you know, all his best friends. People who'd never met him, his best friend. And you can feel that connection, especially through Glen's music.
What was it like inside there today?
It was so lovely, a lovely atmosphere, load of lovely people, of some well-recognised faces, you know, people I know and people I've heard of, and got to meet some really cool people, people I really admire, and the atmosphere was lovely. The priest did a wonderful job. The music was fabulous. You know, you would expect nothing less. Just a beautiful environment, a beautiful send-off.
How did you get in there?
I made some connections yesterday. I was when you interviewed me yesterday, I had just finished busking. I say quoted. Glen's former landlord actually was chatting with me, and she said she'd help me get in. So that's how I got my name on the list.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Fair play to her.
Yeah, no, I owe her.
My name is George Murphy. I first met Glen when I started on the music scene at 17 years of age. I'm 40 now, so it's 23 years ago. And you know, he was just immediately just so inviting and welcoming and inclusive of not just me, but so many other musicians that were aspiring to do better and climb the ladder in the music industry. I remember one time I was in Vicar Street. It was Ronnie Drew's first anniversary, and I'd been invited along just to see the show. I wasn't there to be a performer on the night, and I bumped into Glen, and he says, "Jesus, George, great to see you. How are you getting on? How are the gigs going?" I said, "Yeah, good, going good." He says, "What are you singing tonight?" I says, "I'm not." He says, "What do you mean you're not?" I said, I'm not on the bill, Glen." He says, "You're on the bill now because you're getting up to sing with me." And he pulled me up onto the stage and done kind of his rendition of the Old Triangle and shared the verses with me. And he was just all about including people. It came to Shane MacGowan's funeral, and he was doing the Fairy Tale in New York, which is just a duet between a male and female vocal. Didn't need to share it with anybody. Could have taken the spotlight for himself, but that wasn't his way. So he asked me to come up and share the male vocal with him. And still to this day, I get people stopping me saying, "Can't believe you sang at Shane MacGowan's funeral. What an honour, And it was an incredible honour, but I wouldn't have been bestowed that honour if it wasn't for Glen Hansard and his inclusion of everybody. Everybody. Didn't matter if you were a busker on the street, which he was once upon a time, or you were Bono or Eddie Vedder, who were there at his funeral today. He didn't treat you any differently regardless of stature. He had time and humility, like, for everybody, you know.
My name is Mick Cronin. I'm from a band called Cronin. I've known Glen since about 98, 99. We used to support Glen up with the Frames at the time, me and my brother Johnny. And Glen's a big reason. He was always saying, "What are you doing in England? Get your arses home, come back home." And he's one of the reasons we came back to Ireland, was because of Glen.
So you worked with Glen as a musician from when?
Oh, we the last 5-6 years, we moved back to Ireland and we've always been in contact, and then Glen got really busy with the Oscar, but we sort of met up around 2016, I suppose, when he started hanging out a bit more with Shane MacGowan and Shane's 60th birthday party, and we would have been working with Shane a lot with them, and we sort of reconnected, and we had lots of great nights together, you know.
Did you play in the 60th birthday?
I was the drummer on the 60th birthday, yeah.
Wow. So you played in the cave?
Yeah, all of that, you know.
And who was the musical director for that gig?
Terry Edwards is the musical director.
Okay.
From London, Great String Ranger.
Yeah. And who was and Glen was the musical director, as far as I know, for Shane's.
So it was
funeral.
Like Glen put everything together. He'd be calling me, asking me opinion on stuff, helping out. We were putting it together. Glen pushed everything forward. Glen took the workload off Victoria, so she didn't have to worry, and she knew that Glen would do a great job for Shane's birthday and at his funeral, you know.
And tell me, what was it like working with Glen?
Magic.
Was he? Well, to talk about the relationship, for what he gave you in terms of instruction and how detailed or how much freedom you had.
We always had plenty of freedom. He trusted us, but Glen, when he entered the room, always brought so much enthusiasm and magic. He pushed everything and got the best out of everybody, because he always wanted to be great and for Glen to be proud of you. That's the way I always worked, you know.
Give me examples of that.
Oh God, I can't think of examples now. But every time, it's just magic. When you're a musician and you get on a stage, and if Glen joins you, you always want it to be at your f***ing best, and it always goes up a couple of gears. Always. Ruan, how you doing?
So, you played Shane's funeral.
Yeah, we played his proper birthday party as well, which was down in Nina. Then hopped up and did a couple. This is just a private thing for like 30 people, and Glen was there, and he brought Shane down the rifle.
Yeah.
He brought him a rifle.
Oh yeah,
he brought him a rifle from 1916 that was used in the GPO.
That's what Victoria said. Yeah.
Shane was so delighted. You know what I mean? That this man thought of him so much.
You played at Shane's funeral and Glen's funeral today. How do they compare?
I didn't play at the funeral.
Oh, you didn't play?
I wasn't playing at the funeral.
Okay.
We're playing afterwards now in Vicar Street. Colin McConnor from the Frames asked us. We're just taking the load off them now, and we've set up our equipment, and we're there to facilitate and help everybody have a good night to celebrate Glen tonight.
Okay. Who's going to be playing?
I don't know. We don't know.
So you don't know what the set is?
No. No one knows, but we're going to celebrate Glen as best. There's going to be 50, 60 musicians on that stage tonight. You know that.
So there'll be a lot of winging.
And we're just going to be trying to help everybody out.
Yeah. Were you at the funeral inside?
Yeah.
What emotions did you have?
It's just good. Can't believe that he's gone, really, you know. He's been such a mainstay in our lives musically since the Frames really came out, you know. So it's just unbelievable. Thoughts and love for his wife and his darling son. All we'd be doing is sending pictures of the kids. I'd be sending pictures of my kids, and he'd be sending me pictures of his little lad. Do you know what I mean? And it's just heartbreaking now. You know, absolutely heartbreaking.
What do you miss most about him?
I think there's going to be a big hole in the whole Irish music scene. Glen always took young artists and tried to push them, and just everything. I don't really know. It's hard to know now. What's going on? Who's going to fill the void now, you know? Glen, it's a very big one, I think.
My sincere condolences to you, sir.
Thanks very much. Fair play to you.